Morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining the Cognitive Systems Speaker Series. Today, I would like to introduce Dr. Ming Li. He's participating and presenting today from China, so it's about 10:30 at night for him. And some of our China colleagues are on the line, too, so I appreciate that. Dr. Ming received his bachelor's degree in communication engineering from Nanyang University in China, and his master's degree in signal processing from the Institute of Acoustics, Chinese Academy of Sciences. He joined the Signal Analysis and Interpretation Laboratory at USC on a provost fellowship in 2008 and received his PhD in electrical engineering in 2013. He is currently an assistant professor at Sun Yat-sen University Carnegie Mellon Joint Institute of Engineering. His research interests are in the areas of speech recognition, multimodal signal processing, multimodal human state recognition, speaker verification, language identification, multimodal biometrics, effective computing with applications to behavioral informatics, notably in health and security. He has published more than 60 papers and served as scientific committee member and reviewer for multiple conferences and journals. Works co-authored with his colleagues have won awards at many notable conferences, and this year he received an IBM Faculty Award. Welcome, Ming, and Ming is going to talk to us today about his research with autism spectrum disorder, and I'll turn the call over to you, Ming.
All right, thank you, Dan, and thank you everyone for your time. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So my name is Ming Li, so I'm going to talk about our recent works, collaborated with IBM on the ASD detection. Basically, we try to use signals from their behavior, mainly is audio, visual, and gaze, and this kind of signals to detect whether the child has some high risk. And I have to say that this work started around officially, I think, 1 year ago. Therefore, there are many results are still not preliminary, and may not be, we're still in the process of working and submitted to some journals and so on. Therefore, I will try to say one or two of my previous works which has been published, and then I will tell a little bit about what we're currently doing, and then I think it's better just to start. Okay, so the background, I think the audience here are all experts in the cognitive science or machine learning or signal processing or biomedical engineering and so on. So I think currently that the machine learning, especially you see the image analysis, the speech analysis, and also some other machine learning algorithms has all been developed very fast, so that people can use signals to see many informations. For example, the facial expression, the face detections, the face recognition, speech recognition, and so on. Right, and the machine learning itself is a multi-discipline research field with many applications. And for those people who may not be quite familiar with ASD, basically ASD is a kind of a spectrum disorder. So it covers not only one typical autism kind of a problem, it covers a broad spectrum of neurodevelopment disorders. So the rate of ASD has risen very fastly recently. I think right now the report is 1/68 children in the in the United States may have ASD. And early interference, of course, is very important because, for example, there are early Danforth model, right? So if you can identify the ASD in the early stages, you can have a better chance to recover, or a better chance to regain some capabilities. And currently, I think you globally saying, right, current ASD diagnosis procedures both time and labor consuming. In China, we do ASD in approximately 45 minutes. Then the China is a very large population, so we really need a lot of doctors to do ASD. But of course, those people with licensed with certificate, it's very few people. So it's a really high demanding in China here. And our motivation is basically to analyze the child behavior with machine learning to design a prediction system. So for those people who may not be quite familiar with ASD, here's a short video to show what kind of problem. Right. So basically, you can see there are some key symptoms of ASD. For example, restricted and repeated behaviors, and also some of them may suffer social interaction and communication difficulties, especially language issues, and also they have avoid eye contact with other person. So for all these symptoms, can we do something to detect those key symptoms using computers? Right. For example, we started our first work with the eye contact. So basically, we have a hypothesis that the ASD children may scan faces differently when they look at them. Right. So basically, when they are scanning the faces on the computers or on real life, the area, the region that they focus may be different than the normal people. So can we capture the eye movement information? The answer is yes. For example, we can use the eye tracking devices. For example, this is the one I think from 2B. And then when you look at the faces, then you can see where those red dots are. You can see their traces. You can see their trajectories. Right? You can see their positions. And we can get a series of eye gaze coordinates. So the first work is to individuals without autism spectrum disorder scan faces differently. I think this is not our work. So this is Dr. Li's work published in Autism Research 2014. Basically, they collect a database and show that the typical people and controlled group and atypical people, those are kind of different groups. They scan faces really have different patterns, and they publish papers. So the data collection, basically there are multiple child, and then each of the child look at a set of images. So there are 87 child in the data set, and each of them view 55 images, faces. And then each faces, I think they record 3 seconds for the eye tracking data. Therefore, you have a sequence of eye gaze coordinates for each of the subject and for each of the images. And then the subject composition, like this figure, there are 29 ASD, the ages from 4 to 11. And then there are also 29 Chinese typical developed children, so matched with their age. And there's also another 29 children matched with their IQ. Therefore, we want to identify those people falling in the ASD group against the other two controlled groups. So there are many previous works on the basically done by other experts. Basically, what they do is they manually partition each faces into different semantic regions, and they count the number of gaze falling into each individual area. So this basically the people work done by Dr. Li, and then they find out that significant differences between ASD and non-ASD groups. Basically, on the right eye and the nose, these regions are different. Basically, the counts of number of gaze are different. So what we try to do in this work is basically we use a data set The data set contains 87 subjects, and each subject, they look at 55 images, so there will be 4,785 images. And for each images, there are approximately 180 samples. So therefore, this much data. And then from this much data, we can formulate as image-wise features. Because for each image, there are 40,785 images. For each images, we have around 180 coordinates. And how do we extract features from those coordinates? If we have finished the feature extraction, then we have 4,785 feature vectors. Then we can perform classification on that. Alright, so this is basically summary. So we want to change from the gaze coordinates to an image-wise feature. And then basically the methods we first use is just simply the bag of words. And then however, we no longer use the manually segmented AOI area of interest. So here we basically use k-means. Then we can cluster the data, the eye gaze data in these phases to many different regions, cells, and this is basically just the regular k-mean algorithm. And you can see this is basically it's a data driven, so there's no need for the doctors to manually segment semantic regions. And also you can see for those area their eye gaze show up frequently. They may be split up with more centers, with more clusters, and so on. And of course, we have also compared the hard bed of words repetitions, which basically you count whether this eye gaze falling into this region basically 0 and 1 membership. But you can also use a soft membership, which basically you can calculate the posteriors. But here we just simply calculate the ratios for the distance ratios. And then you can also use the Gaussian mixture model or some other clustering, and then use the use likelihood ratio to calculate the membership. Is similar. Basically, we here just simply use that, and then we just use an SVM to do the rest things. We can do a linear SVM, and we can also do a kernel SVM. And I think in our experiment we find out RBF kernel is better. And so eventually we have the scores for each of the phases, and then we will, because each subject look at the database for 55 images, therefore they have 55 score vectors. Then we just combine them together to calculate the average score, and this will be the subject level scores. And then we compare this score with the threshold to see whether it's ASD or non-ASD. And basically this work summary is that we have a training data, and then we have image level coordinates, and then the basically we need to design a dictionary. Of course, right now the dictionary is generated by the clustering method. So once we have generated the dictionary word, then we can calculate their histogram, basically falling on different dictionary word. And of course here we use a soft membership, and then basically the likelihood ratio or distance ratio and so on. And then we can, for the testing part, we can look at the same images, set of images, then we use the dictionary word to calculate their histograms, and we can perform classifications, and then we can combine the image level scores to the subject level scores, so we can get a decision. And we currently also have done a little bit improvement. Basically, we try to not just do the k-mean clustering. Here we try to improve the dictionary learning by using the discriminative information. So here is a heat map for two groups. One is ASD group, one is the typical development group. So you can see this is a heat map for their eye gaze, right? Eye coordinates. You can see the ASD group people, they look at their faces, but for the right eyes, they seldom look at that region, and also for the mouth, right? They seldom look at it. But if you look at the typical developed children, you can see they try to see your eye, see your mouth, see your central part of the face. So therefore, for each of this area, when you do clustering, maybe you need to consider the discriminative information. So this is what we propose. We propose a discriminative, supervised discriminative mean shift. The idea is that first of all we can build an estimator of the density difference computed at point x. So you can see there are two terms. The first term basically is the ASD group, what is their density, and on the second term, that is for non-ASD group, what is their density. If you look at that, the Y basically is a label, whether it is a positive one or negative one, depends on whether it's an algorithm class or non-ASD class. And X is our current data coordinates, and XI is basically within this within a kernel. Basically, H is basically controlled how many neighbors you're going to put into this kernel, and then you have to compare it with all the points in this region, right? And then what we try to do is that we try to find out the mode or find out the maximum of this FHX, because if you can find the maximum of it, which means is the discriminative information is maximized, because you can separate these two classes. If you look at their kernels, and then we can find out the mode of this function. Then what we do, of course you can try to calculate the derivatives, set the derivative to 0. So what we're currently doing is basically we just similarly as the mean shift, then we just do a supervised discriminating mean shift, and then every time we just follow the mean shift, and then we will shift a bit just towards this, maximize this FHX. And this is the mean shift results with different iterations. If you look at the first figure, that the blue color represents those points, those regions that are mainly falling, their neighbors are mainly the non-ASD group, right? This is the kernel for non-ASD group. You can see they're very strong. And for those red points, those areas that their neighbors, there are ASD groups, their density function is very strong. Therefore, you can see the difference. And after several iterations of mean shift, you can see those coordinates get changed, right? So basically, they are moved, they're shifted, and shifted. You can see on the last picture here. So there is not much adjacent areas between these points, right? And for the non-ASD group, basically their coordinates X mainly later on shift to the right eye, the nose, and the mouth, and the left eye, these regions. And for the ASD groups, they basically tend to shift their points to the apart, to not from they want to shift it apart from the central area. And then with this new data points, basically this is after discriminative mean shift, we get the new coordinates. Then we do a k-mean again, then to calculate the histogram feature again. Then we can do SVM. So let's just see some experiments. So here we have 87 subjects. So we follow a leave one subject out protocol. Basically, we will test on each of the subject, and we use the remaining of the subject as training data, and we iterate several times until 87 times and calculate the average. And we will use the area under the ROC curve, the accuracy, and the ROC curve as our metrics to determine the performance. And of course, we have to tune the SVM parameters. And so we have several baselines, right? So this baseline backup works of AOI Dictionary. So the left side images is the baseline, which is from the Dr. Yi's paper, and then the middle side is our baseline, which means that we can just simply use the k-mean. And in the right side, we use the supervised mean shift as our new methods. You can see the difference. And this work was published by the Algorithm Research 2016 in this our group's paper. And you can see that the dictionary learning methods, you can see there's AOI, the k-means, the supervised mean shift. You can see the accuracy is keep increasing, and by using data-driven the class sawing methods, you can get a better performance than the traditional AOI. I think it's reasonable because we have a much higher number of clusters, and you can segment the images into more detailed regions. Therefore, the discriminative information is enhanced. And also, supervised mean shift method, basically you can see it basically divides the regions actually also according to the labels. Basically, then you can find out, you can pay more attention to those specific discriminative areas. All right, and we also have tested the performance, for example, ASD versus non-ASD, ASD versus typical developed group as age controlled and with IQ controlled, and you can see the accuracy and the AUC is all mainly above 85%. And if you look at the typical information, if you look at the bottom figures, you can see tables, you can see those 55 images, some of them are same race faces, some of them are other race faces. You can see the performance on other race faces is higher than the same race faces. So we asked some experts in this area. They said it's related to people's cognition on their faces. For example, Chinese people, if we give many images from the white people or from other people, they hard to tell the differences. But if the faces are your own races, then you are more easily to see the differences. And actually, we find out that if give the kid to see other race faces, it have higher discriminative information. And in the last a few minutes, I will talk about some ongoing works, because ongoing works we are still writing papers, so we cannot talk too much detail. And basically, this is a lab we built in the hospital. And it is located in the Sun Yat-sen University affiliated third hospital in Guangzhou, China. And you can see there are multiple cameras. There are probably 9 cameras. There are Kinect. There are motion capture, but currently we don't use motion capture because the child refused to have any markers on their body. Therefore, we just simply use non-intrusive, non-invasive, just the camera and the audio. Okay. And we can basically we can let the doctor to perform adult diagnosis with a kid in this room, and behind those mirrors there is a room for the students and the staff to record data and perform analysis. So it's a one-sided window. And for example, this is one example of the data we collected. So this is collected by a student because the kids refused to wear the suit and the motion capture. So therefore, we no longer do that for kids. This is just my student. And you can see you have a multi-camera and you have eye motion capture. You have Kinect, and you have in the left lower corner, that is a wearable eye tracking device generated a real-time video. You can see if we can let the kid to wear this thing, then we can see their first angle video for each of the kid. But unfortunately, the kid also refused to wear this wearable eye tracker. So we end up purely use the audio-visual data remotely to handle this. So currently, we have collected around 230 children in this data setup. So all of them are collected in real clinic adults environment. And there are M1, M2, and M3. We have 115, 82, and 33 participants in the database. And every day we collect 4 or 3 sessions. Therefore, this number is increasing every day. And for example, this is some data that we cannot show the kid's face, but this is how to. For example, this is a segment. And we have a bunch of cameras. This is just one single cameras, and then we have around 9 cameras, and we have Kinect. Therefore, we can track their basically we can classify, for example, bounding box to find out where the kid is, and then use action recognition to classify their action. And then we can use that to detect the repetitive behaviors. And we can also use the speech recognitions to, you can see there's a wearable microphone mounted on the back of the child over here. So in that cases, then we can record the child's close field speech, and we also have microphone array by Kinect, but this time we only use the mounted microphone. And currently we have built our own image expression, facial expression toolkit. Basically, we use a convolutional neural network, CNN, and we get, I think, state-of-the-art result on FER dataset, and we participate in the challenge, in the facial expression challenge. I think we get sort of okay results. And this is just a demo, that because we cannot show the kids' front face, I just used some faces online to show that you can see the angry, anxious, and happy. And you can use these scores as your features to do the kids or the therapist, the doctor's facial expression analysis. And we also have done something that related to the face detection and gaze recognition. Basically, we want to see if you call the kid's name, whether the child responds to you. Therefore, you have to detect whether the child is turning back their faces, look at you, and then we have to do the face detection, the gaze recognitions. Currently, we have used the face detection and the landmark detection to tell the angles, and now we're still working on the gaze recognition. And here are some audios, for example, but I don't know if there are Chinese audience I can play.
Actually, we're running out of time, Ming, and I want the time.
警备区幼儿园是不是？哇，那你们那个幼儿园听起来好像很厉害的样子哎，可以介绍一下你们那个幼儿园吗？就是说你那个幼儿园是什么样子的嘛？真的。7月份。
So Ming, we're running close to the end of time. Can you summarize and then leave a minute or two for questions?
Sorry?
Ming,
I did not hear. Yes?
I want to save some time for questions.
All right. Then I just use 1 minute to finish it, then I can answer questions. So that basically is a speech recognition result. You can see it's almost perfect. So we can do text analysis, and we also use the wearable microphones to collect the data. Therefore, we can also we have published a paper on the diarization, basically how do you use the single channel data to extract the child data out by the speaker diarization. All right, thank you, and I'm glad to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ming. Thanks for a wonderful presentation. Audience, please press *1 to unmute your phone line, or press the icon on your screen if you're using audio to ask questions.
This is Marty Apple. What I see there is an excellent beginning to an excellent diagnostic and potentially therapeutic situation. I really also see that those opportunities to do other diagnoses of mental health conditions, and I'm wondering if they are planning to go in that direction.
All right, thank you. So currently we think that we're not going to do other things, but of course this is doable. But we think that this is still not a solved problem, although it is promising to be solved, because all the face detection, gesture, action, speech, and those things, gaze, it seems like from the interspeech, ICAS, ICPR, CVPR, and so on, it's all some sort of very promising to get solved. Therefore, we think that this is a promising way to go. But the problem is that we lack data. Therefore, the first thing we do is collect large number of data. So we plan to collect more than 1,000 kids, and then we can apply many deep learning methods. So this is what we're going to do. I can tell you that we currently have no plan to expand. I think our current vision is try to collect as many kids as we can. If we want even a couple of thousand, and 2,000, 1,000, and so on, then we can try to use the deep learning methods to handle that. The previous experiments all have only 20 or 30 participants, and then the result, you can only use very simple methods like SVM, this kind of thing. Now it's opened the door that can we use more sophisticated methods to handle that. This is basically our goal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take time for one last quick question, please. All right, I see a question from Scott McLeod, but I'll send that to you, Ming, in an email. We're about 1 minute after the hour. But thank you very, very much for this fascinating presentation and for the work that you're doing. And audience, please continue the conversation with Ming on the LinkedIn discussion group. And thank you for joining today, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, Ming.
Okay, thank you. And if you have questions, please email me, and I will try my best to answer.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye.